Texts A and B are very different. It's easy to see that A is aimed at a well-educated adult audience, whilst B is appropriate for children. But how do we know? What is it about these texts that make them appropriate for these groups? In the following two presentations, we'll look at sentence structure. We'll look at the basic ingredients of a sentence and what these different elements do, what their function is. We'll also look at different types of sentences and think about different connecting words. Okay, so let's have a look at some example sentences. These are from text A and these from B. As you see, text A's sentences are very much longer and more complex than those from text B. And it's this key difference that makes each text appropriate. So what are the ingredients of a sentence? Well, every sentence starts with a capital letter and ends with a full stop or a question mark or an exclamation mark. So far, so basic. So let's go into a bit more depth. Have a look at this sentence. This is a simple sentence from text B. But what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that it just has one clause. So what is a clause? Well, a clause is the basic building block of a sentence and consists usually of three elements: a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object, or SVO. Let's look at this simple sentence. The subject is the dog, that is, the thing which is doing the action. So the subject is the agent of the verb. The object, on the other hand, the postman, is the recipient of the action. And the verb is the action itself. A lot of sentences don't actually have an object. This is because some really common verbs express a state rather than an action. And the most common verb, state verb, is to be. Other examples are become or seem or happen. So, for example, this sentence, reading is difficult, has a subject here and the verb here, but there's no recipient or object. So not all verbs need an object. However, most sentences must have a subject and a verb. Now, the exception to this is the imperative sentence, which has no subject. Here are some examples. Okay, so let's apply this to some different sentences. Try to identify the elements in this one. Were you correct? And how about this one? Okay, so let's build on this. We can add some optional extras to this simple one-clause sentence. So we could say when the event happened, and also where, and maybe how. These are called adverbials, and they add more detail to the sentence. Look how the commas separate the adverbial detail at the beginning of the clause. We can also add some adjectives as extra detail for the subject, like this. Now this is still a simple sentence, it still only has one clause. Okay, so we've seen how a simple sentence has two or three core elements, a subject and a verb, and often an object. We also usually see optional extras such as adverbials and adjectives. So what about longer sentences? In the next presentation, we'll look at compound and complex sentences. We'll see how conjunctions and commas are used to connect clauses to form longer sentences.